G'day there ladies and gents, it's Connie here once again from Marquee Industries. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. Anyway, we're reading some more stories from Reddit today, so as always, hit like and subscribe and all that stuff, and let's get straight to the stories. Okie dokie friends, we're on relationship advice. This one was written by user GonzoFish, and it's titled, My wife will no longer let me pursue my hobbies. Exactly as the title implies, she says I am not allowed to pursue my own hobbies anymore, as they are unhealthy. Before our marriage 7 months ago, I was interested in all sorts of things. Playing video games for at least a few hours per week, collecting Star Wars figures. Some may say that was a bit childish anyways, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. Painting Warhammer 40k, etc. These are things that I had done since my early teens. My wife wanted us to make healthy lifestyle changes after our marriage, which at first I took as just eating healthier, exercising, etc. I was totally on board for it. Everything was fine until I went down to the basement one day and noticed all of my Star Wars figures gone from the display shelf. All that remained was some limbs from a few of the figures. My wife was at work, so I sent her a text asking what happened to them. In the meantime, I rummaged through all the garbages and finally found the figures in the bigger garbage next to the garage. Most of the cards were torn up and the figures dismembered, while others were completely burned or melted. I took a picture and sent it to her, asking if she did it. That night, after not replying to any of my texts, I confronted her. It turned into a huge argument about how my hobbies are immature and that she was repulsed by them, even threatening to not have sex with me until I gave them up. In the heat of the moment, I agreed with her, if only to get her to stop yelling at me. We haven't talked about it since, and I've unfortunately been abiding by her rules for the past 7 months, though I've been secretly playing video games, buying figures, etc. She only found out about it one time, and she destroyed it immediately. I can't keep this up any longer. I want to have my own hobbies without her getting upset. What is the best way to bring the subject up again, and how can I let her know how much my hobbies mean to me? My god, this sounds like a dictatorship, not a relationship. Like, come on lady, you married this guy knowing what his hobbies were, and now you're trying to change him? And the way she's doing it is straight up abuse. Let's go to the comments. This is abusive. She loved you for years while you did your hobbies, so what's changed now? She's shaming you for your passion and throwing out and destroying your stuff without talking to you about it. Was this a long-time argument? Did she get after you for gaming or having your collectibles, or was it just one day that she'd had enough? OP says, we had a few small disagreements in the past about me playing video games, but it was mainly just because I played for too many hours. She never said a word about any of my collectibles. You're 31 years old. Your wife doesn't get to let you do stuff. You get to do stuff on your own terms. She's being completely unreasonable and very controlling. Exactly this. Marriage doesn't mean she's your mum or your boss. You're still your own person. Yeah, take your partner into consideration and all, but Jesus, your wife, husband or partner doesn't have the right to tell you what you're allowed to do. Hella controlling partners are not healthy, not sustainable, and don't make for a happy environment. The melting and ripping up of his Star Wars stuff is insane. How would his wife feel if he decided he only wanted to see her in revealing clothes, so he just cut up and threw out all her favourite clothes but kept the trampy ones? Opie edits. Thank you all so much for the words of support and guidance. It truly means a lot. Getting a different perspective on this has made me realise that she may be going through some internal or mental issues. She was the love of my life before all of this, and I'm not going to give up on her by just getting a divorce without knowing the reason for her acting this way. I'm going to ask if she'd be willing to go to a therapy session and move on from there. Opie updates the next day. Currently at my best friend's house, drafting an email to send to my lawyer first thing in the morning. I decided to hook up my Xbox to the living room television and gauge what my wife's reaction would be when she came home from work and saw me playing. She immediately went to our bedroom and slammed the door. I walked in on her angrily texting something on her phone before she screamed at me that I was going back on my promises and that playing games is unhealthy. I kept telling her that I deserved to have my own hobbies, and she told me that no real husband has those kinds of hobbies. I basically told her that she was free to go find a real husband, and I packed a small bag and drove to my friend's house. I feel kinda relieved, but also sick to my stomach. I'll keep updating when I can. You are also supportive and deserve to be kept in the loop. One comment says, I'm going to be real with you. You cannot stay with this abusive woman and live a happy life. Divorce sucks, but admitting you made a mistake in choosing a partner and moving on now is better than admitting it after wasting 5 or 10 or 20 more years being unhappy in this mess. Now, here's another perspective. My fiancée is not into video games or action figures, but I still have a ton of video games and action figures displayed prominently in our living room because I'm into them and she likes when I'm happy. That's how healthy relationships work. Opie edits again. My wife has been texting me non-stop, asking where I went and telling me to come back to the house. She even claimed she was pregnant and that I was abandoning my own child, only to backtrack a few minutes later. I'm making sure to save all of those texts in case my lawyer thinks they could come in use. Wow, another update 2 days later. I spent the morning talking to my family and a few of my other friends about the situation. They all agree that a divorce needs to happen, whether or not she's mentally ill. My sister even said that she had a bad feeling about her, but saw how happy I was and didn't want to impose at the time. My lawyer has suggested not to confront or communicate with my wife until divorce proceedings can be put into motion, currently going to my house while she's at work to gather my valuable belongings. In the final update, a little over 2 months later. Not sure if anybody is still keeping up with my post, but I figured I would give another update. The divorce proceedings are currently underway. My ex-wife has been incredibly apologetic for not only the main incident in my post, but also for how she's been treating me in general. She has also agreed to pay me a lump sum for the figures. We came to a mutual agreement in terms of the value. Overall, she's been acting surprisingly reasonable throughout all of this. I feel like this is a positive turning point in my life. Thank you all for giving me the courage to finally take action. Wow, there you go. Let's read some final comments. Quote, overall, she's been acting surprisingly reasonable throughout all of this. That gave me pause. Given how much of a psychopath she is, I'd be bracing myself for the other shoe to drop. A lot of narcissists don't think the divorce is actually going to happen and that they're just on a break. Once things finalise, the shoe won't really drop so much as whipped at the floor. Same issue as the post I saw yesterday where the woman was getting pushback from her fiancé about wearing a suit when they got married, as she typically only wore suits and disliked dresses and skirts, only for it to come out that he despised her suits, which were all bespoke, so not just off the rack, and wanted her to dress more feminine overall. It's okay to have preferences. Go ahead, like what you like, but don't dare marry someone with the intent to change them because they don't meet your ideal. If you like feminine women, date feminine women. If you like guys who only care about sports and beer, date guys who only care about sports and beer. Don't date the opposite and resent them for the things they don't even realize is a problem. It's so unhealthy and unproductive. She didn't even stop at giving them or throwing them away. She was tearing them up and burning them. That's some psycho behavior. Yeah, absolutely. And regardless of if she was going through something or not, I think it was best to, separate in that occasion. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Anyway, that's the end of that story, and we'll move on to the next one. Alrighty, this next one was posted on Am I Overreacting? It was written by user Far Astronaut, and it's titled, Am I Overreacting? My best friend's boyfriend smacked my butt. I'm currently in my room writing this while everyone else is in the kitchen and living room and I don't know what to do. My large group of friends, all 24-25 female, always rent out a house for a week this month because 4 of us have birthdays this month. This year, I happen to be the only single one in my friend group. I get along with all of my friends' boyfriends, so even though I'm like a 9th wheel, I haven't really felt left out or weird this whole time, until today. One of my closest friends, Sarah, 25, has an older boyfriend. He's 36. He's a nice enough guy. They've been together since around this time last year, and I've gotten to know him a little since, and never got any bad vibes. Well, this morning, I'm in the living room doing my workout. I'm a very dedicated fitness person, so I work out most days, which is something me and this guy have in common because he's a personal trainer. He walked into the living room while I was in the middle of my stretches and warm-up, says good morning, and we chat, as I'm still working out, about some fitness stuff. The convo is winding down while I simultaneously go into a forward fold, as he walks past and says, "Okay, well, keep up the good work." He smacks my butt and walks back to his room. I immediately stop everything and go into stunned silence. This was hours ago. I don't know what to do. I'm horrified that he'd think this is okay. He is a trainer, so I understand maybe he was trying to be encouraging, but what? I don't think it was meant in a sexual way, but I'm very uncomfortable now. Do I tell her? Do I tell my other friends? I don't want to ruin the trip, but I feel so icky now, like I'm hiding something. Opie edits. Thanks for the replies so far, guys. I just wanted to add this in case it's relevant. The only thing that has ever made me slightly uncomfortable about him in the past is that he's been pretty persistent about working out with him as a trainer every time I see him, and I always decline because 1, I can't afford it, and 2, I like to work out alone. I always thought he was just trying to drum up business, which could still be true. Also, he's made jokes about me being bisexual, but that's kind of par for the course in my friend group since I'm what they lovingly call their token half gay. I think I'm just going to be like, hey man, you probably didn't mean anything by it, but if you could not touch my butt in the future, that would be great, and try not to make a big deal out of it. What do you all think? Definitely crossing the line. Let's go to the comments. So, like a butt smack like guys do in a team locker room kind of thing? Like the one you see pretty much any given weekend watching football? That kind of smack? Feel free to say something. You have a bubble and cannot be touched, okay? It does seem a bit of doublespeak to say you don't think it was anything sexual, and also be like, oh, so icky. Pick a stance. Opie says, I didn't say he was icky. I said I feel icky like I'm hiding something. I just don't like being touched, in both a non-sexual and sexual way. Say something loudly with all the subtext, just like you are here. They deserve to know who you are. Opie says, are you really telling me you see no difference between a man patting his teammate on the butt in the locker room after a game and a man who I only know through my friends, who he is dating, smacking a 24-year-old woman, butt while I work out? I never said it was sexual. I said it made me uncomfortable because I don't know him well enough for him to be touching me in such a familiar manner. If we're in our mid-20s, we're old enough to directly communicate with the people involved instead of posting on Reddit when the person in question is literally within shouting distance. Talk to him and your best friend together, say it made you uncomfortable, and go from there. It's possible he meant nothing by it. Coming from a sport and fitness family, butt pats are about as common as a handshake. Opie says, I asked because I don't want to make a big deal out of if it's not, so I needed some advice. Tell your friend or him that it made you uncomfortable. Intent versus impact. Even if you didn't mean anything by it, it still made you uncomfortable, and that's okay. Tell them it made you uncomfortable and not to do it anymore. It's okay to place boundaries. Yeah, pretty straightforward there. Okay, on to an update the next day. Thanks to everyone who responded yesterday. I honestly didn't want to text my mum or anything because I didn't want to make a big deal out of nothing. But everyone seemed to be on a consensus that I should at least mention to him that it made me uncomfortable, so it didn't happen again. I do just want to say for posterity, the smack was definitely more than a pat, but less than a slap, if that makes sense. Harder than if you were to say pat someone on the back, but he wasn't leaving a handprint or anything like that. Last night, I went outside to smoke a cig and he came out with me, and I tried to bring it up as casually as I could. I just said, hey man, I know you probably didn't mean anything by it, but it's been bothering me and I just want to clear the air. I didn't particularly like when you patted, I said patted because I didn't want to insinuate anything, my butt yesterday while I was working out. I know you were probably just trying to be encouraging, but it made me a little uncomfortable because I have personal space issues. I don't really, but I have to spend another 2 days on this trip with him, and I didn't want to make him feel bad. He apologized profusely and said he didn't think when he was doing it and was so sorry if he made me uncomfortable. I guess this morning or late last night he ended up telling Sarah, and she also apologized to me this morning and seemed really mad, but I told her not to worry too much about it. Whether or not he was actually being creepy remains to be seen. He did seem pretty genuine in his apology, and I doubt he would voluntarily tell his girlfriend if it was nefarious in nature. That being said, no one should touch your body if you don't want them to. Period. The end. I'm glad it wasn't anything more than a stupid mistake, but it could have been more. Glad I said something just to clear the air. One comment says, good on you, and good on him for being apologetic and voluntarily telling his girlfriend. Just a bad choice. Everyone handled it like adults. Perfectly appropriate reaction. You established your boundaries, he apologized, girlfriend was made aware. Everyone will move on and learn from this, and you haven't had to sacrifice anyone's friendship. Honestly, I think people can take this as a perfect example of how to deal with a situation like this. Well done. He seems to be apologetic, and it sounds like you accept his apology. Definitely an awkward situation, but kudos to you on how this was handled. Yeah, absolutely. A very mature handling of this, I think, which is kind of rare on Reddit these days, that's for sure. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Otherwise, we're going to leave that story there and move on to another one. Okie dokie, back over on relationship advice. This one was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, "My coworker put me on a hear me out cake and posted it online. Do I take action in some way?" I work at a diner as a waitress with this kid. Let's call him John. John has always seemed pretty chill and busses my tables. Sometimes we chat if we're closing together, usually about school, as he started college not too long ago, and I'm almost graduated with my BA. Ultimately, we are friendly, but not friends. Last week, he said that he was part of a group chat with a handful of other co-workers on Instagram and asked if I wanted to join. I said sure because I haven't connected with people at the diner that well and figured it was worth a shot. We swapped Instas. The group chat is very normal, friendly banter between co-workers. Yesterday, I see that John posted a reel of him and a couple of his buddies doing their take on a hear me out cake, which is usually a very light-hearted and funny way of saying you would get with what are typically fictional and mostly animated characters. The entire cake adhered to that concept, except towards the end, when my face, a picture that he must have screenshotted from one of my posts, is stuck on the cake. I was the only real person on that cake, and John actually made a comment about how attractive I was and that he wished that he could hit that, but doubts he has a chance. I feel insanely grossed out and kind of violated. I want the video taken down, but I'm not sure if I have the right or authority to do that. I ranted about this to my sister, and she told me to just take it as a compliment and be glad that someone thinks I'm pretty. It feels wrong doing that. Is this grounds for taking this issue to higher-ups? I don't know if I'm comfortable working with him at the moment. Do I just take care of this myself and tell him that it makes me uncomfortable and I want him to take it down? It is a public video. I'm just uncertain how to move forward. I haven't heard much about this guy, but I get the impression that if OP approaches him about it and confronts him over it, then he'll most likely fold like a lawn chair. Hard to say though. Let's go to the comments. This would make me uncomfortable too. I feel like he posted this knowing you'd see it and hoping you'd respond positively to it. Either way, it's awkward, and I'm sorry you're in this position. I'm cringing for you. I think the fastest way to get it taken down would be to talk to him about not being comfortable with your photo on a public video. If he apologizes and takes it down, I'd say you may not need to escalate. If you have a decent relationship with your manager, it may not hurt to ask to shift your schedule around to avoid him. Good luck, OP. OP replies, "I was wondering if it was a tactic of some kind, like making a move without making one. I don't know, he's too young for me anyway. I think I'll see if I can get my manager to help with my schedule, but because of my classes, I don't think I could change much unless I want to work fewer hours. Thanks for the support though. I think I will try to word a message to John now, asking him to take it down." A shameless, direct approach out in the open with minimal reaction, that serves to call him out and make him feel like a weirdo. Objectively, it is a very weird thing to do. It was a joke. That's a pretty creepy and weird joke, don't you think? Best case scenario, he takes it down and realizes he's blown any chance he thought he had with you because you think so little of him that he can't even get a reaction out of you. Worst case, he doesn't take it down and I say report him at work. Opie says, "So I should cut the niceties?" The commenter replies, "I think being direct and confident is the way to go, speaking as if it's so obvious that it was a weird thing and that anyone would think so. This boy is interested in you, so in general, any niceties you give him may be interpreted as encouragement, just my opinion." She replies, "Thanks for your perspective. I have been told I am too nice and can be a bit of a pushover, so your comment kinda struck a chord." Hearing your sister's reaction, I'm not surprised you're a people pleaser. It must have been tough growing up in a place where people don't support you standing up for yourself. I can relate. Opie says, "I'm just naturally quiet and introverted, which doesn't help. My immediate family isn't particularly supportive in nature, but I do have support in my life that I am grateful for. I just don't get to see them as often as I would like. If you haven't found your support system yet, I feel for you. I hope things go your way. Thanks for the kind words." Others have given some good advice. I just want to add that your sister's comment is disgusting as well. Not only is it dismissing his gross behavior, she's also outright insulting you. She replies, honestly, I think she has some issues with male attention and male validation. She's willing to take a lot of bullcrap from men just because she likes the attention, so that comment she made kinda opened my eyes once the initial sting stopped. Okay, on to an update, 23 days later. Hi, I don't know if this is how you do an update, but this is how I'm doing it. So I screen recorded the video and sent it to my manager. We are on good terms, and I was hoping that she would understand and we could rework the schedule so that I don't have him bussing my tables and we won't have to interact. She said this is very odd and may be a violation of conduct. She told me not to stress about the details and that she would take care of it. I'm very grateful with how seriously she took it. She had moved me around so that I'll not have to see him as much, and I only have a handful of times since then. He has avoided eye contact with me entirely. Once my manager was aware of the video, I DM'd John on Insta saying, "The video you made in which you put my face in a hear me out cake for social media is gross and unprofessional. We are co-workers. I did not greenlight being posted online and sexualized like that. I've talked with manager about the situation and my discomfort and would like you to take the video down. You used my image without my consent." He responded and apologized, saying that he and his friends were drunk and that he made that video on a whim. He told me he thought I was cool and wouldn't have a problem with it. He said he would take it down, but never once actually said sorry, just gave those excuses. It was deleted. He's been having to take an online course about sexual harassment and workplace misconduct or something like that. Something probably meaningless, but at least it's slightly a pain in the ass. The only thing now is that he has busboy buddies that side-eye and kinda glower at me because of the action I took. On the bright side, they probably won't F with me like that. Anyways, thanks to everyone reading. I'm not sure if anyone will see this, but the comments on the last post were mostly helpful, and I'm grateful for the perspective that you guys provided. So thanks. Yeah, well handled, and hopefully that put him in his place, even if he didn't outright properly apologize. What a prick. Anyway guys, that's it from me today. Hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.